Hi BookTube, Sarah here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with a tag video. I needed a second video for this week, and with everything up in the air after moving, kind of like, I don't really have a lot of time to prepare for anything. And then I saw Steve Donahue do this tag, and I'm like, yes, this is perfect. I do not need to prepare a lot. I can literally just read the questions and try and answer them off the top of my head. So I thought that this would be fun. And this is the book addiction tag. And this was originally created by Elaine Howlin. I will leave a link to her channel in the description box below. There are 12 questions here, so let's jump in and get started. So question number 1 is, what is the longest amount of time you can go without picking up a book? Less than a day. I tend to, unless something major has happened, it's no more than a day or even a few hours. The last day that I went without reading a book was the day after my dad passed away in January, for obvious reasons. But the next day after that, I needed to get back into reading to help my emotions heal, because it's something that makes me happy, and you do need to do things that make you happy after things like that happen. So yeah, that's the only day in recent memory that I can remember that I have not picked up a book and read a book in a day, in at least over the course of a day. Question number 2, how many books do you carry on your person or Kindle at any one time? Well, I think I own over 1,000 Kindle books, so I'd say around 1,000. Because my Kindle is always on me. It's either my actual Kindle Paperwhite or it's my phone that has the Kindle app on it. So at any time I want, I've got access to somewhere around 1,000 books. And those are just on the Kindle. That's not talking about my physical library. Question number 3, do you keep every book you buy, receive, or are you happy to pass them along? Most of what I do read is on audio or ebook. So no, those I can't really pass along because they're kind of digital. But as for physical books, if I really enjoy the book, I will keep it. But if it's a Harlequin imprint, they are the books that I tend to collect. So yes, I do keep them. But I have no problem donating books and things like that. I will often put books to the side like a lot of people do on hauls, and that's absolutely fine. But even if I didn't like a book and it's a Harlequin imprint, I will still keep it. Again, just because I am a collector as much as a reader for those books. Question number 4, how long would you spend in a bookstore on a standard visit? Used to be a joke with a friend of mine in high school that we would go out somewhere and I'd say, oh, can we just stop by Chapters, which is our big like Barnes and Noble type bookstore here in Canada, Chapters Indigo. Be like, can I just stop in just for a minute? And I'd get this side look going, it's never just a minute. I could be in there for a good couple hours just perusing the shelves. Even though I didn't used to buy a lot of physical books, I still like looking at them, and oftentimes I take pictures of the covers, and then I'd come home and I'd check out, and I'd add them to like my wish list for the Kindle, which is how I used to work it when I didn't buy a lot of physical books. But I always like looking at the sales too. The thing is with bookstores, with the big chain bookstores, is that, let's be realistic, you guys, books are expensive. And I get it. Printing costs are expensive. All those things are expensive. But I tend to spend more time in a used bookstore, mainly because the books aren't necessarily organized extremely well. So you really need to take the time to go through them all. But believe me, I could happily spend a Saturday or Sunday afternoon doing that. Question number 5. How much time per day do you actually spend reading? I'd say anywhere from 4 to 5 hours, to be completely honest. I usually have an audiobook that I listen to for a little over 2 hours a day, and then physical reading as well. When I was working, I'd read on my lunch hour. I read at night. I read in the morning. You know, like, I'd say average 4 to 5 hours a day. Question number 6. Where does the task of picking up a book appear on your daily to-do list? Okay, I don't have a to-do list, but if I did, it would be at the very top. It's the first thing that I generally do. I get up in the morning, I make myself a cup of coffee, and I sit down with my audiobook and my knitting. And that's how I start every single morning. Before I've even talked to anybody, before I've even checked my email, before I've done anything. That is the first thing that I do. Question number 7. How many books do you reckon you own in total, including ebooks? Well, like I said, I own over 1,000 ebooks on the Kindle. And then I must have probably close to 500 physical books. So over 1,500 in total. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big library, but that's okay. I've always got something to read, which is fantastic. Number 8, approximately how often do you bring up books in conversation? Depends on who I'm talking to. I have some friends that don't read, so of course I'm not going to talk to them about it, but I have other friends, of course, who do read, and we, it's at least a couple times, a day in conversation I will talk about books to somebody. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to talk about and to share, and that's why I have this channel, so I can talk about books whenever I want to you guys. Number 9, what is the biggest book by page count that you have finished? I looked this up ahead of time. I know I said I'd be answering these questions off the top of my head. I did look this one up ahead of time because there were 4 books that I knew were chunkers that I've read. 2 of them I have read multiple times, but I needed to know which one was officially the longest. And the longest one was Hawaii by James A. Michener, which comes in at just shy of 1,200 pages, I think. I read that one about 3 years ago. Next in was Chesapeake by Michener, and I think it's by like a 50-page difference. But I did check, and I believe Hawaii is the longer of the 2. So yeah, so I've read both of those books once. The other 2 that were in contention were Gone with the Wind and Outlander, both of which I have read. Outlander I think I've read 3 or 4 times, and Gone with the Wind I have read about a half a dozen times. So if you want to go in terms of the book's 800 pages, but I've read it 6 times, does that count? But no, longest book, Hawaii by James A. Michener. If you like epic historical fiction, highly recommend him as an author. Fantastic work. My dad's the one who got me into reading him, and I am forever grateful for that. Number 10. Is there a book you had to get your hands on against all odds? Not to my knowledge. I'm not that type of a collector. There's a couple books that I remember reading when I first started reading romance that I have gone ahead and got a copy of physically now for my collection, but they weren't hard to find. I'm not getting collector's editions, leather bound, signed by the author, yada, yada, yada. Really, thrift books is exactly perfect for me, or a thrift store. I can usually find what I'm looking for. Number 11, a book you struggled to finish but refused to DNF. I didn't look up this one ahead of time, and maybe I should have. I will be honest. Jane Austen. I think, was it Pride and Prejudice? Pride and Prejudice. And then I also read Emma. So both of them I read, and I enjoyed them. But classics are just not my forte, and that's okay. Not everything is for everyone. And while I read them, and I'm glad I read them, same with Jane Eyre, they're just not for me. And I did feel like I struggled through them because they're not my thing, and that's okay. Same as if I read a vampire book, or if I read a book about shifters or whatever. Not everything is for everybody, and that's okay. And I'm glad I read them, but they were a bit of a struggle for me to get through. And question number 3. What are your 3 main book goals for the year? Read, read, and read. No, seriously. I would like to meet my Goodreads goal of 240 books. I should have no problem doing that this year, fingers crossed. And I also want to read as much as I can of books I already own. I do not want to be buying a lot of books, although I still am. But I would like to read a lot of what I already own. And I want to get my new library set up this year, which will happen in the next month. So that's a definite goal that I will be able to do. So I don't know who's done this one. I don't know how long this tag has been around for. So I'm not sure exactly who to tag, but I think I'm going to tag Rainy over at Rainy Day Reads, and I'm going to tag Chloe over at Always Booked. I'll leave a link to both their channels in the description box below. I'd love to see them do this tag. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.